all 3 episodes. We are talking the Dracula miniseries from the BBC, which I believe has gone on to Netflix as well. And this one stars Claes Bang as Dracula, and is kind of the showrunners here are Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat, who I think are primarily known through kind of TV in regards to the Sherlock series and kind of Doctor Who. Now, for the interest of transparency, I will say I'm not a big TV person. I don't watch many TV shows. I've never seen any of the Sherlock series, and I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Doctor Who, so not overly familiar with them, although I have obviously I'm very aware of them. So Dracula, this ain't your grandpappy's Dracula. This is a loose adaptation split over 3 distinct episodes, each of which have their kind of own locale. The first being kind of the, I suppose, really the most faithful to a certain degree, where we have Jonathan Harker going to Dracula's castle, meeting him, and arranging to come back to England. Then the second episode is the ship journey back to England, and with that it's kind of like a who's done it. There's a killer on board. Obviously we know it's Dracula, but it's up to the kind of the crew there. Can they kind of figure it out and ultimately trying to get away with their lives if they can. The third being when Dracula eventually gets back to the UK, there is a kind of a twist on that one, but the further twist I should say, although there are elements still of the original story. So, first of all, what worked? I think this is a very lavish production, and I really enjoyed it. We have 3 distinct chapters here, each with their own settings. The first one, certainly the most gothic, I feel, in kind of Dracula's castle, and has some real true horror elements in regards to some of the visuals here. This one does remind me of the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula to a certain degree, where we have the aged Dracula initially and kind of eventually getting his kind of youth as he kind of feeds off the Jonathan Harker character. Like I said, there are some big differences here. The Van Helsing character is introduced in this point as a nun. I've got to say, I thought she was one of the best things in this series. I thought her portrayal here was fantastic, and she's kind of like this nun who has a deep knowledge of obviously the occult and is a kind of his sassy counterpart to Dracula. One of the things I felt maybe struck me as a little odd here was the kind of the modern sensibilities of kind of the Dracula character, especially. Now, like I said, I'm not familiar with kind of Stephen Moffat, etc., so I'm not sure if this is what it's like. But to me, this almost seemed like a kind of Guy Ritchie version of Dracula. Obviously, he made the kind of the recent King Arthur movie, and I don't know, just some of the modern kind of jokes and things like that, and the kind of the way some of the language here. And the kind of the back and forth between people, I was really just reminded of kind of Guy Ritchie's work here. And to be honest with you, I think they overdo it with a little bit of the puns here. God, I mean, this can be, in regards to the punometer, this is really only equal to Batman and Robin, if you ask me. There's so many kind of like puns and double entendres in regards to some of the kind of the jokes here. I thought it was a little bit testing at times. Our Dracula character, though, I feel is very very kind of charismatic. Maybe not charming. I was going to say something, but that's maybe not the case. He's not really this kind of the seductor here as much as maybe in previous incarnations. But nonetheless, he's a very charismatic, charismatic kind of character. The kind of the gothic feel, certainly the kind of the first 2 episodes, I feel is fantastically kind of realised. And I really kind of enjoyed the kind of the production value here. The third episode to me, I feel, is the weakest, considering really that's the biggest portion of the original book. Obviously each episode is kind of around 90 minutes long. To me, this had the kind of the most ground to cover, but yet it felt meandering. I felt that the story here didn't progress in a particularly meaningful way, and the ending felt very kind of rushed. The conclusion to what happened there wasn't much build up to it, if that makes sense. So I feel here the third episode was certainly the weakest. And also this has a little bugbear that I like. Slight spoiler here, really. The third episode actually has a time jump, and it's set in kind of a contemporary age. And rather than kind of Agatha Van Helsing, who we have seen in the previous 2 episodes, we now have a descendant. However, it's played by the same actress, and it's one of those tropes that always bugs me, because it makes, you know, when you have kids, you know, your DNA diverges between 2 families, and whenever you have an actress or actor playing the offspring of a kind of a descendant, it bugs me that they look exactly the same, and they're exactly the kind of the same age, and have the kind of the same kind of hair and everything like that. It's one of those things that kind of bugs me. Although I much preferred, I do prefer the Agatha Van Helsing character. I would have preferred if they had maybe just somehow found a way to get her to be immortal herself, or just have completely recast it, despite the fact that I really do like that actress in the role. But it's kind of one of those things that kind of bugged me. The bones of this series, it does hit kind of some of the familiar story points in Bram Stoker's novel. You know, even kind of in the latter episode where there's so much diversion from it, you know, we still get kind of Lucy, we still get kind of Quincy. Although things are changed. Like I said, Mina is more or less sidelined in the kind of the third episode, obviously because it's a different time period. But there are still certain beats here that kind of do follow the book. But this is a very loose adaptation. I'm going to say I don't have a problem with that, because I actually quite like seeing things that I haven't seen before. And there's been so many different iterations of Dracula. I actually quite like seeing something different. So that I don't mind. And this does try to, you know, maybe explore some of the reasons why some of the kind of the things that Dracula has a weakness to. It tries to explain them. I was reminded of the Richard Matheson's book I Am Legend, which doesn't deal with Dracula, but it has a kind of vampire legend in it. And it's in that book, basically, he's kind of trying to work out why the vampires in that story have a particular weakness to certain things, like Stun Like the Cross, etc. And this movie does it too, in a slightly different way. Shout out to Grumpy Andrew, who did mention the movie Dracula 2000, which also does this. But again, each one of them has a kind of a different why the case there is. But I appreciated the attempt here to have maybe a more of a scientific look about why he was a particular. You know, it is vulnerable to particular things. I thought the acting overall was excellent. I enjoyed all the kind of the characters here. For me, although I did particularly like some of the kind of the overuse of some of the kind of the quips and jokes here. I still very much enjoyed the character of Dracula. I think it was, you know, very charismatic and magnetic to watch, kind of. But the third episode to me, although certainly not bad, was, in my opinion at least, the weakest out of the 3 of them, and I felt like it went out more in a whimper than a bang. Although it does have a definitive ending, I still do feel that they have left it open to make more, but we'll see. I guess we'll see how popular it is. Overall, give the series a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.